And we're live now, and we're back after a bit of a break. Hey there, what's up, Pete?
Hey, cheers, man. We are back and live.
I know. It's been a couple weeks, but we've been
Oh,
busy
man, I
down
think it's
here.
been about a month since we've done movies, I think.
Yeah, the last one I remember we did was Mars Attack, The Great White Hope, and we talked some action flicks, and then we just got busy. I
That's
got busy,
right. Yeah.
and but then guys, we
Yeah,
have been
no, I got
doing.
pretty busy myself.
No, which is good. I mean, that's how it should be. And but we haven't stopped completely, guys. If you're interested at all in Pete and I's kind of crazy life down here in Brazil, we do a bi-weekly podcast called the Brazil Expat Journal. It's on Mondays also. So one Monday we're doing movies, the next Monday we're doing Brazil expat stuff, and it's a pretty varied show. It's not extremely Brazil specific as far as some of the stuff we talk about you're going to relate to regardless of where you are in the world, and it's just kind of wacky wackier versions of what you may be living anywhere you are. So if you want to join us for that, we're on, like I said, every other Monday. So at the same time, 10 p.m. And on Thursdays, we're still going through our X Files. I just watched an episode before I came on that had to do with cockroaches, and I think Pete watched one with
That's a
rats.
great episode. Yeah, I watched one with rats, unfortunately.
I
Ill
know.
timed. Actually, it could have been timed worse, actually. At least I didn't actually have to watch the episode while I had a rat in my apartment. So there is
Yeah,
that.
I feel you. I feel you. Well, mine was timed really badly because I didn't remember the name of the episode. And I knew there was a cockroach episode. I could have sworn it was like in season 5 or something. So I pressed play
Yeah.
right when I just finished making dinner. And then I see like the first shot is like this guy, waxing poetic
Yeah.
about cockroaches. And I'm like, oh my
Yes.
God. So, but it's such a funny episode. And this gets
And
into like,
you know the thing is, I remembered the name of the doctor like before it came up. I was like, "Oh, that's Bambi." I just remembered that from like
oh,
probably only seeing the
Bambi.
episode
Her name
once.
is Bambi?
Yes, Doctor Bambi. Yeah,
Yes, who's very hot. But, we'll talk more X-Files. We're actually starting, we're ahead and as far as our watching, but this Thursday we're going to do episodes 1 through 6 of season 3, which is an improvement
great
over
season.
season 1 and 2. They keep getting better as they go along, and I think that season
Yep.
3 for me so far has been the season where, okay, this is where things finally completely gelled. They really knew they could do anything on this show.
Yes.
But we'll talk more X Files on Thursday. But tonight we got some Marvel and DC, WandaVision and Justice League Dark, Apokolips War. And then we got some boss level, which I really wanted to see. I completely forgot that I wanted to see this movie. So I'll have to check that out at some point. And Judas and the Black Messiah to close it out. So kind of a varied list and all current stuff that I hope you guys, maybe some stuff you missed, and maybe some stuff that you did watch and you just want to leave some comments on. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page. Thank you to all the new subscribers. We hit 200, but we're keep getting new subscribers. At least 1 or 2 every week. So that's kind of cool. But before we get there, quick picks. And I think Peter already knows what my quick pick is, so I'll wait. Anything you want to talk about, Pete, that you watched real quick?
Okay. Well, God, it's been so long since we've been on. I've seen a million things, but one thing that I've been watching regularly is the Muppet Show. You may be aware that the Muppets are now streaming on Disney with warnings for racial stereotyping and inappropriate content and things like that. I don't think I've downloaded.
Interspecies sex.
Yes. I don't think I've downloaded the Disney version. I think I have like the raw, uncut Muppets, like full blown, no censorship. I got the whole deal. So it's been fun. It's been very nostalgic. One thing I like about watching the Muppets is like these people who are celebrities, and you forget that they like, who the fuck is this very special guest star, and you have to look them up on Wikipedia, and it's like, oh shit, like this person was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been fun. I enjoy the humor still holds up. One of the complaints about the Muppets is that Miss Piggy creates a toxic work environment through her sexual harassment, which is true. It's totally true. But I mean, that's part of the humor. And if you can't deal with it, then maybe the Muppets is just too much for you.
Yeah, if the Muppets is too much for anybody, I just feel sorry to be that anybody. I haven't watched any of the Muppet stuff that's come out, but I love them. You know, I used to watch them a lot as a kid, and I'll catch clips on YouTube. And what has always been the magic of the Muppets is how they're sinister. You know, like it's a kids show, but they have a mega mean streak, and that's what I think
Yeah.
makes them so popular and so lovable, even for adults. Is that there's a real cynical mean streak underlying everything, the underbelly of everything. Uh, and it's genius. You know, it's just a genius. Jim Henson was a fucking genius, and he managed to flip between being that entertainment that your kids could watch, but the kids weren't getting
Yeah.
how adult this show really was. And
Yeah, well, it was a follow up to Sesame Street. He'd already had
yes,
like a pretty big children's hit with Sesame Street, and like the Muppet Show was basically him taking that style of entertainment, but for an adult audience, but one that kids could also enjoy as well.
yeah, yeah. So I might join you in watching some Muppet stuff. And they did have a few reboots. There was a show on ABC that did pretty well,
Yeah,
and there was one that I maybe is it on Disney now, but it got pretty good reviews. It might actually still be airing. I don't know. I think it came out like last year. So the Muppets survived, man. Somehow, some way, they've managed to stick with us, and I'm happy for it. And I saw your post about how Miss Piggy is really a toxic. She should be a toxic femininity. Because
yes, yeah,
she's
yeah.
rough.
Hiya!
Yeah, she's rough. Frank Oz, one of
Yes,
the
yes.
greats.
That's that's one thing I really loved about the second Star Wars movie, Chapter Two, is
Hmm.
Yoda fighting Count Dooku. That to me, that was like Miss Piggy versus Dracula.
Yes. Oh boy. Um, and well, I joined the bandwagon. Well, not really a bandwagon because I'm a kind of a DC fan of almost everybody that watched the Snyder Cut, Justice League, and I'm not gonna go very long on it because my friend Justin and I, actually Justin from Talking Films, we did a podcast on Saturday night. So check that out. That's on the channel. And we were on for about 3 hours talking Justice League.
Oh
So I'm
shit!
not going to go all
That's
over
like
it again.
like
I,
as
so
long
I'll,
as the movie.
I know we were kind of joking about that. Yeah, we went to bed like 4 in the morning. But the quick pick is that, hey, whether you liked it or not, one, let's just kind of say wow, how cool was it for Zack Snyder after what the tragedy that happened in his life? How many times can you count, that somebody's been given a second chance in the Hollywood monster? Like they let him just get his movie out there, like it or not like it. That part I think is very touching. I mean, it's very like a Hollywood story, this guy that got a second chance and the reception has been majority positive. So that's cool too. That of course, no movie is loved by everybody, but it's cool that critically and most of the fans have been saying, wow, like I'm not even a DC fan. I watched it just to see if it was going to be any better than that trashy Whedon version, and yeah, it wasn't bad. So that's cool. That's cool that people have been nice to it, and it's worth the watch. I think it's 4 hours, but it definitely didn't feel like 4 hours for me, and for a lot of people are saying the same thing. It just kind of flies by with the chapter times and everything. It's a bit darker than the Whedon version because that's just the Snyder vision of what DC should be, his DC verse, Snyder verse. It's got more blood, got some F bombs. Superman comes back way more sinister. We got some Dark Side, which, as a DC fan, man, oh man, I've been waiting to see Dark Side on the big screen, which is my biggest letdown from the Whedon version. I was like, who the fuck is this Steppenwolf? I mean, like, it made no sense why they would use that guy and not Dark Side. This movie explains why Steppenwolf is a much better villain in this that I got behind. And that's about it. I don't want to wax too long on Justice League because everybody's talking about Justice League, but that was enjoyable. I dug it. I dug it. So that's it for quick picks for me. And Pete, you've managed to get through an hour of it, and I will give you credit for at least giving it a shot. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
I wasn't really planning on it, but I had the time, so I figured why not.
yeah,
And yeah, as far as the people who say that feel like 4 hours, man, like at the 1 hour mark, I was like, holy shit, this was like 5 minutes in the original movie. Like, this is long ass shit, and I don't feel like investing 3 more hours in it. And it had like it had more to it, definitely. But I don't think. I mean, if I'd seen the whole thing, I would say yes, it's better because I did feel that it was a bit more three-dimensional. It wasn't as perfunctory.
mm-hmm,
But like most of the extra scenes that I saw were just like Steppenwolf flapping his gums behind the scenes, and
mm-hmm.
I don't think that added a whole lot to it for me personally. But hey, glad people enjoyed it. You know, it wasn't for me, but if you dug it, I'm glad you got your fanboy moment.
Yeah, well, one thing that was very different is the way Steppenwolf dies at the end. It was intense. It was nice. The whole ending, in
So
fact,
I've
was way
heard,
better
yeah.
than the Whedon version. So maybe fast forward to at least the action scenes. Because one thing I'll say, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Zach Whedon. That's his name, right? Zach Whedon. Even back to the 300.
No,
I mean, I only found out
Joss
recent.
Whedon. No,
Josh Whedon,
Joss
Zack Snyder.
Whedon,
Look
Zack
at me.
Snyder.
Yeah, I'm doing like
Yeah.
a weird amalgam. Not a huge fan of Zack Snyder. I remember when the 300 came out and everybody was like, "Oh!" I watched it. I was like, "What the fuck is this bullshit?" So I'm not a big fan of his at all. And I thought he did okay with this one. I think this is his most tonally well-made movie, even though it took forever to get to. Yeah, definitely some stuff can be cut out, like them singing to Aquaman and stuff like that. But the one thing I can't give him a criticism for is the motherfucker knows how to put together an action scene, man. Like the action scenes, I thought were really great. The Steppenwolf with against the Amazonians, baby Darkseid fighting against the humans and the Amazonians and the Atlanteans, and then at the end when they finally get to the final showdown, some good stuff there. But that's it for now. We're gonna go from
Yeah.
DC to Marvel. Oops, and there she is in all
Oh,
her
yeah.
forms.
Yes,
WandaVision.
yes, yes. Very.
Pete,
Yeah, yeah.
you
This
gotta
is a great
explain what the
show.
fuck this show's about, because there's nothing about it that made me want to watch this show.
Yeah, no, I think it's the sort of thing that you just kind of have to because it's. I mean, for me personally, I love the characters. There were not one actually, but two miniseries, Scarlet Witch in the mid '80s that I really enjoyed reading. So that was my attachment to it. But the concept of the show is just like really fucking outside the box. The idea is basically as we start to watch it, we see these characters that we know from the MCU movies basically trying to live a normal life, trying to blend into suburbia. But the film, the show is shot like 50 sitcoms. It's all in black and white. There's a laugh track. The stories, like if you've ever seen like the Dick Van Dyke Show or Bewitched, like you're kind of familiar with these stories. There's this gag
Yeah.
that like he has a job at a company, a computer, quote unquote, computer company, but he doesn't know what he does. Like we don't know what he does. It's like, what the fuck is his job? And that's like a running gag through the show. Like he doesn't know what his job is. He goes to the office and he's supposed to be doing stuff, but he doesn't actually know what it is he does. And it gets weirder because I don't know, like you're a David Lynch fan, I'm not. But one thing I do like about David Lynch is how what you see on the surface is not actually what you're seeing. There's something going on beneath that. And it has this sinister vibe where, like, what the fuck is actually happening here? Because we're not watching about Wanda and Vision. Like, this is obviously a pretense for something else. So it was
Hmm.
kind of fun, like unwrapping the layers of the show and the directions it goes in. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, although I will say I thought I'd finished it. I watched episode 8 and I was like, damn, this. And then someone told me, no, that dude, there's actually a ninth episode. And I was like, okay, so that's the end. But yeah, it's got a lot going on beneath what you see in the first episode, and just the unwrapping of the page is what makes it appealing, I think.
And eventually it unwraps to us realizing she's what is she's like in an without giving I guess too many heavy spoilers, but she's has she built some type of alternate universe for herself or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're familiar with the comics, like one thing that people were really disappointed about with the movies is that Wanda's power is basically that she can rewrite reality. Like that's her power, and she's a
Uh-huh.
witch too. She can do magic. So she's like pretty much one of the most powerful female characters in the Marvel universe. And she shit in the movies. We don't really appreciate it because she was not like a quote unquote main character. But man, she lost her husband, and she lost her
Oh,
brother.
Vision.
She's been transplanted. Yeah, yeah. So she cuts and creates this little world that's like the sitcoms that she grew up on. And if it sounds ridiculous that an Eastern European would have this safe space attachment to 50s American sitcoms, they actually do explain that, which is good. It's like, why the fuck?
Oh, cool.
But no,
Yeah,
they
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
tried to stay away from too many spoilers because I was like, yeah, maybe at some point I'll watch this show. But I did, at the very least, dig a little bit to see like what the deal is, and that's what I kind of came away with is that she created this alternate universe just to deal with all the shit she had to go through, which is a very, very beautiful concept in a way. So,
Yeah, yeah. It actually takes the process of grief very seriously, and
yeah,
as the story progresses too, like we see like a lot of things happening that are just like, man, like people should realize this is not right. Like I think she
yeah.
gets pregnant in the third episode, and no, she gets pregnant and gives birth in the third episode. At the end of the second, she's pregnant, and then in the third episode, she gives birth. And by the end of the episode, which is only like 30 minutes long, I think, her kids are like 8 years old. Like something is not right here. So, yeah, that's what I liked about it. It has a very unsettling vibe to it.
No, that's kind of cool. Yeah, that is very Lynchian because Lynch also deals a lot with grief, and he usually likes to have that dichotomy of the perfect Americana suburbia, and then what lies in that underbelly. Probably Blue Velvet is the most popular
Yeah.
uh, iteration of that. Although Twin Peaks, the show, also deals with that, and Mulholland Drive to an extent. Although he takes that just to like the Hollywood side of things, and we think it's this tinsel town of gr- greatness and goodness, but there's a very dark underbelly to it all. And you feel the tension even in the happy scenes in the Lynch movie. You feel this tension, like, wait a second, there's something more going on. So when you said that it had a little bit of a Lynch vibe, that got me a little bit more interested in the show, because I like that. I like that idea, of not everything is quite as it seems. Under that beautiful facade, there's a lot of darkness going on. Which is like America, 1950s America is that, right? A lot of those shows that gave
Yes.
us the perfect husband, perfect wife, perfect kids, and meanwhile the delinquency rate was just growing and growing. Teen pregnancy rate was growing and growing, and then the reality is probably closer to that wonderful movie that Pete recommended some months back. Was that Run Pussycat Kill Kill, whatever
Faster
that
Pussycat.
was? Faster
Faster
Pussycat. Oh my
Pussycat.
God,
Yeah.
wonderful movie, guys! If you haven't seen it, watch it. So ahead of its time. It's on YouTube, so it's easy to find. Okay. Um,
Yeah. But one
Hi.
thing about this, though, that I need to point out is that every episode they switch decades. So, like the first episode is a '50s sitcom, the second
Mm-hmm.
episode is a '60s sitcom, the third episode is a '70s sitcom. So it's like moving really fast in time and
Mm-hmm.
incorporating all these elements of television at the time. So, like for example, the first episode is more like "I Love Lucy," that type of shit. And the '70s episode is more like Mary Tyler Moore.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely like taps into the vibes of the times that it's drawing on.
I feel you. I feel you. Well, how many episodes is it altogether? 10?
Nine.
9? Yeah, check it out. I know a lot of
And they're
people really
short. They're
enjoy it.
short too. It's only 30 minutes. What I was really surprised about,
Oh,
because
that
like,
definitely, then I'll definitely watch it because I was like, I don't know if I could deal with an hour of a Marvel show. It's funny because me and Pete are the same, but on opposite ends. He's the same. Like, I can't deal with 10, 10 hours of like a DC show. I'm like, I can't deal with watching a whole hour of a Marvel character that I don't even like that much. That's not that interesting, but I like the concepts around it. So I may give it a shot and see what comes out of it. Seems kind of interesting.
yeah, its response has
Ambitious.
been like super positive. I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes ratings right now, and like I think only one episode was rated like lower than 90%, which surprised me. I thought that this would be really inaccessible to most people because, first of all, they're not characters that people who don't read comic books are going to be very familiar with, and the premise is just pretty fucking weird. So I thought it would actually really bomb, and critical reception, not just from actual critics but from audiences, has been like super positive. I mean, I was like, okay, I know I like this shit, but like, wow, will other people? And it turns out, yeah, everyone loves it.
Yeah, well, you know something, I agree with you only because there wasn't much explanation. Like I remember I would joke around in the Talking Films group, and oh, here comes our honorary podcast member again, and Craig. And I would ask him like, "What the hell is this show about?" Because he always seems to be in the know, and he's like, "I have no clue. Like nobody seems to know what the hell it's about. Like before it came out, it was very vague." Because I'm like, the promo stuff was all just her in front of a TV, and I'm like, wait, isn't that the bitch that's supposed to be from the Avengers? Didn't she die or she didn't die? And I was totally confused. Uh, so I'm shocked too that it found an audience. I guess it must have been out of curiosity of what
Yeah,
is this, and it was well made enough. And it
and lack of
even
anything else to watch too. I think.
yeah, lack of anything else to watch. And even still, I remember some folks were kind of getting frustrated with the first 2, 3 episodes, and folks were like, "Nah, man, you gotta hang in there. Like, it's starting. Like, you can see that there's little scratches in this perfect little reality." And I guess folks hung on, and it became a hit. And now that we got a new Marvel show, right? The Winter Soldier stuff. Maybe we can talk about
Yeah,
that some other time. But check it out. Why not? If I got time, I'll check it out. We're moving from Marvel to DC, so we talked Justice League. But one thing that I like better than anything DC's put out in the last 10 years, maybe ever since like Tim Burton's Batman, are the DC animated movies, man.
they
That
are
like
good. Yeah,
I'm always like, yo, why don't they just hire the writers from the DC animated movies to do the fucking live action movies and then end of discussion? Because they're so
yeah.
great. And
Yeah, I think though with the DC animated movies, it's way easier to just tell it like panel by panel, like the comic book. I've
mhm.
seen several of the DC animated movies, and I've only watched the ones that I've read the comic book versions of, and they're basically like line for line adaptations of the comic books, and you can't do
Yes.
that live action.
No, some of them are, but a lot of them are real original stories. But definitely, a good chunk of them are. They'll change a few, like with the death of Superman, Death and Return. They changed a few things. Um, this one, I'm not sure if the Apocalypse War was a comic book first. It kind of. Let me see if it was a Justice League Dark Apocalypse. Let me see if it was a comic book beforehand. Um, Oh, I guess so. Let me see. An American direct-to-video animated superhero film is very loosely based on the story of Dark Side War by Jeff Johns and draw inspiration from Final Crisis by Grant Morrison. So yeah, it's like it's got pieces of this and that. But anyway, I was in a DC vibe obviously this weekend after Justice League, so I was like, let me check this out. I didn't realize it had come out. The story basically is this: Superman is gung ho about attacking Darkseid in Apocalypse because he censors that they got out in space, because the Justice League, the Hall of Justice is up in space, has seen like these parademons coming out, and then the League is like, well, maybe we should wait till they come here. We don't know if it's going to be are they really coming to Earth? Blah blah blah. How do you know? And Superman is like, I'm the boss, motherfucker. We're going to
Yeah.
Apocalypse, right? Thing is, it was all a plot by Darkseid. In fact, he was listening
Ah,
in on their conversation. They walk into a trap. Now, this is an R-rated comic book movie. I didn't realize this because when they walk into this trap, they get slaughtered. The Justice League gets slaughtered because Darkseid has mixed the DNA of Doomsday with his parademons. So they're ripping motherfuckers apart. Like you see your favorite heroes like chopped in half. Wonder Woman's arm gets like severed off. They they just beat the crap out of everybody, but bloody. And that's when I was like, oh my god, what am I watching? Because I hadn't seen well, I've seen a few of the R-rated DC comics, but they're not so graphic. This was very graphic, and so then it fast forwards to like however many years later. And back on Earth, the Earth is totally destroyed. Darkseid's taking like the magma from the Earth, taking its resources, and we still got what's left of the Justice League, which is Superman, who's powerless because he got like liquid kryptonite uh, seeped into his blood. Constantine is still there. He's like one of the main players. The Suicide Squad, Lois Lane is still there. Batman's working for Darkseid because he's got like this. He's been brainwashed. Man, it's intense. It's dark. It's a great story. It's how Clark Kent is still like, man, we still have one last chance to try to beat Darkseid and uh, try to save what's left of the Earth and how they go about doing it. So it doesn't feel like a Justice League movie only in the sense that, a lot of the main characters, they just get offed, right? In the first 5 minutes, they get really offed. Um, a few of them show up a little bit later. I'm not going to spoil how, because Clark does mention that a few of the heroes he kept alive. And they go to the Green Lantern planet, and that's bloody too. When Darkseid goes there and Omega Beam his way through the Green Lantern planet and just destroys these folks. So if you thought that the Snyder movie was a little bit rough with the R rating, this is way darker than that, way bloodier, and it's not 4 hours long. See, that's a plus.
Yeah, that
Um,
helps. That helps.
yeah, but I enjoyed it. And it's the end of this kind of New 52-ish inspired arc because the DC movies go
Right.
way back. But this arc, I think there's 15 movies in it. Justin actually sent me a cool article on that, and it starts with the Flashpoint Paradox movie, which is really good, and then moves. There's a whole bunch in between, which I haven't seen all of them. Sometimes a few of them just pass me by. I know Pete has memory of coming over my house and I'm watching Batman versus the Turtles, which I did not like
Yeah.
that much. But
Cowabunga.
yeah, that one wasn't that good. But the ones that are like the official following part of this storyline universe are really damn good. There are very few that aren't that good. So I highly recommend this one, guys. And I forgot to change the date here. It says 1996, but it's from last year, 2020. And then I found out from Justin that there's a first Justice League Dark movie, which I didn't see yet, so I may watch it after this podcast. In fact, I meant to watch it yesterday. So big ups to that, and that's about it for my little review of this. Highly
Yeah, it
recommend.
looks worth watching.
Yeah,
Although,
and it's touching.
although
It's
in the
touching.
post-crisis continuity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman were not actually even part of Justice League. That's kind of the weird thing about like all this media that's coming out about Justice League, is that in the comic books, it was mostly like second string characters like Black Canary and
Yep, yep,
Wildcat and people like that.
yeah. No, but then what happened is that they rebooted again with the new
Yeah,
52.
into the new 52. Yeah,
And
I was like,
that's like, so a lot of these comics or a lot of these movies are a little bit inspired. Although I just noticed now that Superman's got his undies. So it's not, this one must not be completely inspired. I think this is just like an offshoot movie. But then they have the ones where even the way that they look and they're dressed is very similar to the new 52 uniforms. Most, what do you call it? In Superman without the underwear. That's probably the one you'll notice most. He
okay.
got that new look with the new 52 with no red undies. But yeah, yeah, it's a good watch. It's a good watch, and it's bloody, and you get some Harley Quinn action, which is nice. All right, this is one I wanted to see, man. I completely forgot about it. Boss level.
Yeah, yeah, it was a pleasant treat. I had no expectations. I didn't know what it was about. I like literally knew nothing, and yeah, it was diverting. I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10, but that's still like basically a thumbs up. It was time well spent. So yeah, if you got nothing better to do and you have an hour and a half to kill, I don't think it runs that long. I don't know. know what the runtime on this is, but it didn't feel that long. But yeah, it's good. It's an action movie. Basically, it takes the same premise as Groundhog Day and Edge of Tomorrow, and it's about a guy who's living his life over and over again. Except in his life, he has multiple assassins targeting him, and that is pretty much every single day of his life. He wakes up with somebody trying to put a machete through his head. There's a helicopter outside his window waiting to shoot him with a machine gun. If he gets outside the apartment, there are people waiting to kill him. And of course, over the course of an important thing about this actually is that he's an ex-Marine with combat experience. So this is how he is actually able to kind of deal with this shit. And over time, yeah, over time he learns their moves. Like he knows where they're going to be, and he keeps living longer and tries to get to the mystery of why these people are trying to kill him in the first place. So it's very familiar. I mean, you've seen this story before, but not quite in this way. And as an added bonus, it does have a lot of our old friends in the supporting cast. We got Naomi Watts in there, who is beautiful. Yeah, I love me some Naomi Watts. Yes. We got Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is, of course, the bad guy because that's the only way he can get work. Yeah. And we have our girl from Discovery, Michelle Yeoh, plays a sword.
She's in there,
Yeah, and she is awesome. Actually, her part is very very small, but it's a great part. She gets to show her martial arts chops. She uses a sword. She has some cool dialogue, so she's pretty badass. She's one of the assassins, obviously. Uh, but yeah, it's basically like Groundhog Day with assassins, and it does have a little heart. Like there is more going on to it than what you initially see on the surface level. So if you need that from a movie, you're gonna get it here.
Cool. Yeah, I saw things about this movie when I was on a Mel Gibson. I think when we were talking about that bad Santa movie, whatever, Fat Man.
Fat Man, yeah.
Um, and I didn't like Fat Man that much, but then when we were talking about it, I had seen that there was like some weird sci-fi movie that he was going to be in, which was this one, but then I just forgot to watch it. So I will check it out because it looks fun, and it is only an hour and a half, so that's helpful.
Yeah. And I mean, the action sequences are great. There's something about the predictability of it and the fact that he can die, and that's not the end of the story. Like you expect him to die. I think. I mean, the title gives away a lot. Boss level, right? It's like video games. You
Uh
die
huh.
over and over again, and then you have to get to the top level to beat the game, and that's basically what he's doing. And I don't remember how many attempts he has, but I think it's like 148, or they may go up to 150. I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely like somewhere in the middle of 100 and 200. Like,
It's
he
got some
dies a
pretty good
lot.
reviews. It's gotten some pretty good reviews. The audience rating is pretty high on Rotten Tomatoes, 72%. It's got a 6.9 on IMDb. Although
Yeah,
it
that's
just
pretty
came out,
accurate.
so that may change. So that's nice. That's nice. Yeah. No, nice to have some new movies to watch, guys. I can't wait for Godzilla and Kong to come out, which we may miss out on in the
I
theaters because we're fucking
know,
locked down here in Brazil.
but
So
it's
we
it's supposed
deserve
to
it,
be
Pete, for
it's
talking so
supposed
much
to
shit
be
about.
only 30 days. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'll
it
watch it. I'm gonna watch it before, and then I'll go to the theater to watch it again. I don't give a shit.
and I want my Black Widow movie, man. I was watching the Avengers the other night, just because I am kind of working my way through the MCU movies again. And yeah, man, she's such a cool character. Scarlett Johansson did such a great job with her, and she deserves that movie. And it was supposed to be out last fucking May, and it's almost this May now, and it's still not out. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't get that with some movies that they're holding back. Um, I mean, we'll see. I guess in a way, this Snyder Cut and King Kong are going to be two measures as to whether or not the big studios feel comfortable releasing what were supposed to be these mega blockbusters onto these smaller platforms. Because I understand it from a business level. It's like, but it, well, you can, but at the same time, who knows? You know, China's weird sometimes. Like, they just won't watch a movie for whatever reason that they think is going to be a hit. So yeah, I mean they have the rest of yeah. China doesn't give a shit about coronavirus. They're like, you deal with it, motherfuckers. So who knows? Who knows? I get it. I get their fear of not wanting to release what were supposed to be these marquee movies, but at some point they're just
Yeah,
they'd
you
rather
can't
make
sit
some
on
money
them
than not make
forever.
any money. You know,
I mean,
you got to make some money because at some
yeah,
point it's
yeah.
just gonna
I
be
mean,
like,
the thing we're
go ahead.
yeah, yeah, the thing we're seeing now with the MCU, like they had this timeline, and now it's totally screwed up. Like last year was supposed to be the Black Widow and the Eternals, and this year was supposed to be Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange too. And now it's like there's fucking nothing coming out, and they're still like developing other projects. It's like motherfuckers, like why are you working on new projects when you haven't even released stuff that you've already shot?
Yeah, that I don't get at all. But again, I guess they're just they want to get the money back for all the money that they spent. That's the only thing I can think of. Because I
And
mean,
Bond
we
too, man.
saw,
Remember we saw the trailer for fucking Die Another Day when we went to what was the
yep,
last movie we went to?
Wonder Woman.
It was Wonder Woman. It was Wonder Woman, yeah. And they had the trailer for Die Another Day, and it was like, oh my god, finally, it's coming out. No, no release date yet.
No, it isn't. But I'll tell you, I was about, I mean, you brought that up, and I was just about to bring up Wonder Woman, and I think that's the fear. It's like Wonder Woman was released in the theaters, the selected theaters, and on streaming, and it just made nothing. I mean, compared to what, and it could be because of the quality of the movie, you know, it wasn't that great of a movie, but even still, I think in a normal non-corona year, even the movie not being anywhere as good as the first one, it still would have made a good 300, 400 million, dollars. Where in
Yeah.
fact it made what, like barely scratched 100 million in China. It did really bad. It did nothing in China. So the
Mm.
studios are just afraid because they spent a whole lot of money on Wonder Woman, and they made nothing back. So
Yeah.
I can
Are you gonna
understand
make
it from that.
are you gonna make nothing or are you gonna make something? Because
Well,
if you
that's
don't
the
release
thing.
it, it doesn't
They're
make
on. They're in
anything.
this waiting game, waiting maybe for the vaccines to roll out. See if theaters open back up. Let me see how much Wonder Woman 1984 made for box office, if we can even get those numbers, because it must be so hard. It made $164 million. Oh my god. Um, Latest reports from box office suggest the new DC Wonder Woman 1984 has flopped majorly since its release. The long-awaited DC sequel opened to an underwhelming $18.8 million in China, making it a not-so-super start for Warner Media after announcing their plan to launch new films on HBO Max. Um, and I think Mulan also suffered a little bit of the same. They didn't really make the a lot of money back, so it's complicated. It's
No, but
complicated. It
I will
grossed.
tell you what Mulan did though. Mulan got a ton of Disney subscribers. To name drop Craig again, he wasn't gonna fucking subscribe to Disney, but his daughter wanted to see Mulan, and he's like, "All right, you got it." So I think what Mulan did is it made Disney a lot of money indirectly by getting subscribers. Like you can only see
Mm.
it if you subscribe to Disney. So I think Mulan was kind of a success.
Yeah, for the platform. Yeah. Yeah, Wonder Woman only made 45 million in the US and Canada, and then the rest of the money was all overseas. And yeah, so it grows 90% less. So that's crazy. Those are crazy numbers. That's numbers that'll make any executive afraid to do anything. They're like, these motherfuckers can wait, you know. Um, but like we said, how long are you gonna wait? Because theaters, even if everything's vaccinated, it's gonna be at least till next year. So anything gets back to even 50% capacity. Sadly, but that's just the way it
Yeah,
is. Like this year is
yeah.
not
I mean,
happening.
here they're saying, yeah, here they're saying by the end of 2022, everyone will be vaccinated. I mean, man, that's a long time, and that's all of this year and all of next.
Exactly. That's a long fucking time to sit on something. I know that the US and in England and these first world countries are moving way faster with their
Eng-
vaccination. Brazil's got like what 3%
England
of
is
their
doing a good job, man.
dude, I'm sorry, I disagree. With the vaccination rollout, it's like at 3% of the
Yeah, they're going
population.
pretty fast. I don't know, man.
Compare
It's
it
better than
compare it
Canada.
to other
Canada,
countries.
because
Even the
in
US,
Canada,
which is a mess,
in
it's got
Canada,
at
you
least
need like two
20%.
jobs. In Canada, you need like two jabs, and I think the wait between them is like 3 months. So, like, even if you've gotten your first shot, you're still not going to be vaccinated officially for another 3 months.
I know I get you. A lot of these, but they have the same thing down here where you get like it depends on the vaccine. It's like some of them are you get once and then you got to get the next like in a week. Sometimes you got to wait. But look at this. The U.S. has 13% of their U.S. population vaccinated. This is March 22nd. Brazil, I believe, has like 2% or something. No, they're doing terrible. And they just went, the president was over in Israel where they got like 50% of their motherfuckers over there vaccinated. It's a smaller country, obviously. But no, Brazil's doing a terrible job of getting these vaccines out, buying the vaccines, which vaccines we buy, do we not buy this? It's all political bullshit, with the president versus the governors.
Yeah,
The governors want the Chinese vaccine. The president doesn't want the Chinese vaccine. He wants to use that chloroquine, whatever. It's a mess in Brazil, y'all. It really is with getting these vaccines out. Fortunately, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's genetics or what, Brazil, it's got a lot of deaths, but if you go by per capita, it's actually not as bad as a whole lot of other places around the world. Because Brazil does have a lot of people. But fortunately, we got that going on. But as far as dealing with it, you know, well, this sounds starting to sound like the Brazil expat journal, but shit, motherfuckers had a year and a half to set up field hospitals, buy extra equipment, get motherfuckers ready, knowing that Carnival was coming. And even though officially there wasn't Carnival, motherfuckers were going to agglomerate and there would be a spike probably in February, March. Motherfuckers did nothing. Come on, Brazil is. Luckily, for whatever reason, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's genetics. We haven't had that many deaths. I mean, not yeah, compared to other
dude,
places, but the way
we
that
had like
they've dealt with it.
2,600 in a single day.
3,000 a day. No, there's definitely a spike, definitely a spike, but it's still like per capita, it's not as bad as some other countries. But anyway, guys, we're gonna finish with, and I forgot to put a fucking little slide thing here for Judas and the Black Messiah, which I'll let Pete talk about because he watched it, and
I
I'll
did,
talk about it
yes.
too. And I'll tell you, Pete, what'd you think about it? We'll talk while I get
Yeah,
the
well,
thing up.
I watched it because you posted a pretty rave review of it. You said it was like your favorite movie of the year.
So
So I
far.
figured that's a yeah, I figured that was a pretty strong recommendation. So yeah, I checked it out and I enjoyed it. I think movies are a terrible place to get a history lesson from, but they're not necessarily a bad starting point. Like you can watch the movie
Mm-hmm.
and just take it as a piece of art, and then do your own research, find out what the real facts are. And I was pleasantly surprised to find this was actually a pretty factually accurate movie. I did do my research after the movie, and I found that most of this is pretty true. As a piece of art, I think I found it a bit uneven because our title is The Judas and the Black Messiah. And the Judas is an FBI informant who is inserted into the Black Panthers to get information that will allow the FBI to bust them as terrorists. And immediately off the bat, we see that it is not the intention of the Black Panthers to be terrorists. They're actually just trying to be a political party and crack the system from the inside. And so our hero, our Judas, is feeling pretty torn up about this because he doesn't want to set up these people who are treating him like family. Most of the time, there is a scene where they almost murder him, but
Mm-hmm.
besides that, they treat him pretty well. And yeah, he's like going to his FBI bosses and saying, like, man, like they're not up to anything. They're just like trying to be part of the system and trying to change things from within. But as these external pressures mount, of course, the Black Panthers they don't outright become a terrorist organization, but they definitely cross some lines. And it kind of becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. And the story of our quote unquote Judas kind of gets lost in the middle of that. That's my only complaint. Other than that, I thought it was a really great movie, but it's kind of like we start out with the Judas story, and then the middle is basically a Wikipedia article about the Black Panthers, and then we get back to the Judas story at the end. So it was a bit uneven in that respect, but I enjoyed it. Definitely worth checking out. I can't speak for anyone else, but I knew very little about the Black Panthers before watching this. So it was educational, not just because of the movie, but because I like to fact check my shit. So after watching the movie, I did actually look up a lot of stuff and was like, oh man, that was actually true. So yeah, it's an educational and informative movie.
Yeah, I agree. Full disclosure, I had like kind of like a date night, and we were watching this, but we didn't get to see the last 30 minutes. So I actually have not seen the last 30 minutes of this movie. We were supposed to watch the last 30 minutes this past Sunday, but shit went down and it didn't happen. So I just still got to see the last little bit. But from what I saw, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for being very ambitious. Last year, mostly like what because of what Pete and I were talking because of the corona and all this shit, we got a lot of small movies, as they like to call them. These
Yeah.
very personal stories. One woman struggle and a family struggle with this and that, which is fine. One cow struggle.
Oh my
uh,
God. Don't get
yeah,
me started.
yeah. So we got a lot of these movies. Some of them work, some of them don't. Some of them I really fell in love with. I really love Nomadland and In
Nomadland
Line
is like
even.
the fucking favorite to win the Oscar now, man. That's
I,
crazy.
I
Like
believe it. I believe it.
you'd never think a
I,
movie like that would be like front runner, but I mean, there's so little else in that category. I mean, I thought The Five Bloods got kind of dissed, But everyone
I
said
thought
that
so
was
too. I thought so too. They got really
yeah,
too political, maybe. I don't know. Spike Lee always gets shit on.
yeah. No,
Um,
everyone said that was going to happen. They're like, "There's no way that the Five Bloods is going to get any Oscar nominations." And I was like, "What? You got to be fucking crazy!" But apparently, the people who said that know a lot more than I do.
yeah, I think it's mostly because it with Spike Lee, he pisses off a lot of these voters with the subject matter. Like Black Klansman, which I thought was okay. It was good, but it definitely wasn't as good as the Five Bloods. But it works for the that audience, because it's the evil white man and this and the third, and it's like okay, it that it's safe. It's a safe movie. Black Klansman. You got the Five Bloods about these five motherfuckers who are like fuck the white man, but yet one of them's a big ass Trump supporter.
Yeah,
That's not gonna fly with these Oscar
and I
guys. They don't
mean,
want to hear that shit.
that guy should have Delroy Lindo, man. That guy was like, I don't know, maybe like one of my top three picks for best actor, and he didn't get any love, man.
I know, but it's all politics, and it's like Spike Lee makes whatever fucking movie he wants, and his politics don't always match like Malcolm X. Come on, Malcolm X is one of the great epic biographical films ever. I put it up there with Gandhi, with
But it
uh,
did get some nominations, though. That's the thing.
yeah, but it's
Spike didn't get a nomination, but at least Denzel did.
yeah, but it should have won shit. Like it's a sprawling, beautiful, gorgeous movie. Like, how does that move? And again, that's why people are like, who gives a shit about the Oscars anyway? But it does mean something in the end. I mean, if you have that little statuette, it does give your movie a little bit more prestige and a little bit more classic, which I don't think Malcolm X always gets. That movie always gets because of that. It's kind of like that other movie. Like, we'll talk about Lawrence of Arabia and Gandhi with what was the actor from Gandhi? He was so good and
Ben
such a good
Kingsley.
fucking yeah, Ben
Ben,
Kingsley, such a great movie. Um,
yeah.
I can't think of any more of these epic biographical movies, but great. That belongs in the same pantheon, but I don't think it gets the same love because it doesn't have those statuettes. So yeah, I was kind of waiting for that not to get the love that it deserved because it does help. At the end of the day, you get that statuette, people rewatch your movie. Or maybe they missed it the first time around. They're like, "Oh, it's that good," and then they watch it, even if it's a shitty movie like The Green Book. You know, they'll watch it.
I
The
haven't
Green
seen the
Book.
Green Book.
Come
I
on, I
haven't.
mean, fuck.
It's Craig's favorite movie, isn't it?
That's the safe movie. That's the movie
Yeah.
about Black lives and Black history that the Academy will give an Oscar to. Although props to them for Moonlight, even though I didn't like Moonlight at all, and I thought La La Land should have won. But props to them for giving it to Moonlight because that definitely wasn't out to left field movie about black life.
Yeah, not a
Um,
particularly good one though.
yeah, I didn't like it at all. I didn't think that was a good movie. I mean, but whatever. Although the dude that what's the actor that he's actually in
Marshala
Marcella. He's awesome.
Marshala Ali. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he is awesome. Yeah, but
It
the
just it
thing
was so
is, like,
little in
is
the movie. He was in there
yeah,
for like
he
20
got
minutes.
like 5 minutes of screen time, and he totally got like the token Muslim Oscar for it.
Oh no, I thought he deserved it for those 5 minutes. Like that was the best part of the movie. For me, best parts of Moonlight were the parts with him
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
was that father figure that boy needed, and the end scene when he's in the diner and he's meeting his childhood friend and he's trying to like come out to him and not man, that was beautiful. That was an intense scene. Like those 10 minutes plus the five or however many with Ali were the movie. The rest was like I kind of fell asleep through. But anyway, so The going back to this movie though, yes, I liked, I started this whole rant by saying last year we had a lot of these smaller movies, and it'd been a while since I've seen just a robust, we're just going for everything type of a movie. Even with it's loud and it's brash and it's just in your face. This was it. I was like, wow, I'm digging this. I dig the energy of this movie. So that caught my attention first. Obviously, the actors were wonderful in it. What's his name? Aluya? I can't remember any of these people's names. Um, what's the main character who plays Fred Hampton? Daniel Kaluuya was awesome.
Okay, yeah.
From Get Out. You may remember him from there. He bulked up for this one though. Lakeith Stanfield as the FBI informant was great, and I agree with Pete. It's the movie starts out with him, but then it very quickly shifts to it being about Fred. But I thought it was a decent shift. But I agree with Pete that had it been, then it would have been like a very long movie. But I think in the hands of this director and his writer, like they were doing a pretty good job at keeping the pace going. They could have made it a little bit more of a sprawling epic type movie and gone deeper into the state of mind of our Judas. So I agree with Pete that it kind of shifted focus a little bit into the story of Fred with Lakeith's character just kind of in the periphery. Okay,
Yeah.
Bill O'Neill in the periphery. And it would have been cool if we had kind of like these, those movies that have like these parallel plot lines going on at the same time, where you get a little bit of what he's feeling by having to be this informant, other than just a few scenes where he's like, "What do you mean I have to keep doing it?" Um,
Yeah.
and in this whatever's going on with Fred's life. The Black Panthers, I stand by my statement, Mr. Ron, who I guess didn't like that I said probably one of the most misunderstood groups in American history. I stand by it, and I said probably because it's debatable, but I do think that especially white people, when they hear Black Panther, they think terrorists. They think these
Yeah.
evil terrorist, white hating black folks, which is not what they were at all. So this was a great movie to get an idea of what the Black Panthers were about.
Yeah. My,
Definitely, go ahead.
my 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 favorite scene in this movie is actually where they go to that Confederate church and they recruit
Yes,
all the poor white trash, like
yeah,
saying
the
like,
Rainbow Coalition.
yeah, yeah, and that is a true thing that actually happened. That's one of the things I
It
looked
is.
up,
And by the way, Vanguards
it's
of
a
the Revolution. If you haven't seen this documentary, Vanguards of the Revolution, that was released by PBS, great documentary, and it shows you both sides. Because that's the thing. There was a rift in the Black Panther Party. In one side, yes, was definitely more, oh, we got to just get violent and really start an armed um, revolution, which was, oh my god, I'm terrible with names. Because he ran away to Africa. What is his name? I'll find out. But anyway, the no, I can't find it. I can't find it. But Fred was in the he created the split. Fred was more on this level of like, we got to get some white folks to work with us too. We got to work more peacefully, show that we're trying to actually help the community and not just look as if we just want to burn the shit down. Okay.
right.
And that created a rift between Huey Newton. Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know that
Yes.
name. Yeah,
Huey P. Newton. Elaine Brown, a former Black Panther Party leader, criticized the film, writing that it presents a disparaging portrait of Huey P. Newton and that Nelson, from his film, the party's ideological foundation and political strategy, reducing our activities to sensationalist engagements as snatched from establishment media headlines. Well, yeah, of course they would say that because Huey was way more pick up your guns and let's burn this shit down. And Fred, the great orator, had a different view. It was still a bit more hardcore than Martin Luther King, but they were more coming like seeds of Malcolm X. But their idea was, yeah, we want to self-defend. Black Panthers started because they wanted to protect their community from police brutality. So they would report, escort, always be there when the police were there so that the police would to kind of intimidate the police and say, look, you're not just going to keep beating up on black folks.
Yeah,
um,
but that did not work. That did
it did
not.
not work exactly, so it was very ideological, as a lot of groups are, but they did a lot of good for the communities too, with daycare centers and food drives and reading and black empowerment. So
And
all
let's
this
not
stuff.
let's not forget that Jenny from Forrest Gump was also their friend.
Jenny, yes, I forgot.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a whole Black Panthers party scene in Forrest Gump. I completely forgot about. Oh my god. Yeah. Um, so as Pete and I have said many times on this podcast, you gotta judge history by history. By when in history it happens. So, are there things that we can look at today with the Black Panthers and say, "Oh my God, that's terrible"? Maybe, yes, probably, but it's such a product of that time, the Black
yeah.
Panthers and what they represented, and such an iconoclastic group of, a social movement, but also so powerful and so influential, in the lives
Yeah.
of so many black people. Black power, it just
I
comes out
mean,
of that.
I empathize with them a lot actually watching this, but then you get these scenes where Jesse Plemons. That's something worth mentioning actually. Meth Damon actually gives a
Oh,
performance
yes.
that's actually really original. He's not the Matt Damon clone. He's his own guy in this one. So
Yeah.
that
Took
was
me a while
cool.
to realize that was him.
Yeah, but he has these scenes where he's like, man, like they had an informant and they boiled his balls off. It's like, okay, I was kind of sympathizing with the Black Panthers to this point, but that's kind of rough. I
It
don't want,
was.
yeah, I don't want my balls boiled off.
But at the same time, the FBI wasn't any nicer, right? Remember there was a scene
No,
where, was it they killed their own informant or something like that? I forgot how it went down. Like they no, the one guy, oh, it was the guy said that they killed somebody that they thought was a rat, but really it wasn't a rat. It was the guy that was telling the story was actually
yes,
the rat. He was working with the
yes,
FBI. So then
yeah, no,
Bill.
he framed somebody. He framed somebody else for being the rat.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
then Bill starts to shit his pants because he's like, "Oh my god!" And then the
yeah,
FBI guy's like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. It was all fake. I mean, we really did kill the guy, but then
yeah,
it's like, so they just killed an innocent dude from the Black Panthers.
yeah.
So they were all playing dirty. But yeah, I mean, you gotta judge it by the time. And in a way, yes, they were kind of like a gang. A lot of the original gangs before they got totally fucked up with messing with drugs and stuff. And this is even if you go into the Italian, Irish, not just black gangs, they're there to protect the community, man. That's how it all started. If you watch The Godfather 2, you'll get a little bit of history lesson about that. But so even black gangs began the same way, and the Black Panthers just happen to be the biggest black gang in a way, but also a very important social movement that influenced everything from hairstyles to, black is beautiful, black and proud, the
Oh no, we
fist.
still see it
Everybody still
here.
recognizes the fist to this day, the
Yeah,
black power fist. And I'll tell you, here's a little bit of trivia, Pete. Do you know the NRA, the National
of
Rifle
course,
Association?
yes.
Now, check this out. I mean, you could kill 100 little kids in a school, and what's the NRA still going to support?
Guns.
Of course. The one time in the history of the NRA that it has opposed gun legislation was in California when the Black Panthers utilized their Second Amendment right and state right in California, because some states you can and some states you can open carry. And at the time, California was an open carry state, so you could have your gun out in the open. And the Black Panthers had their guns out in the open. That's the one time the NRA actually helped overturn that. And in California now, it's not a state where you can have open carry like Texas. So, yeah, I mean, read into that what you will. But interesting stuff. I thought, like Pete said, movies aren't where you want to get your history lessons. Although I think, over time, especially with the internet generation, directors and writers are being a bit more scrupulous about their historical movies, and
Right.
trying to put as much truth in there as possible, because they know we'll
They're
have
gonna get
people that
flamed
are
if they
like,
get
the
anything
minute
wrong.
you
Yeah.
finish the movie, you're on
Yeah.
Google. You,
Yeah. Before
you
it
know,
even comes out, people
yeah,
hear like this
exactly,
movie is about that.
exactly.
They don't even watch it. It's like, my God, that was my grandfather, and he wasn't like that.
Exactly. It'll be small things like with Hidden Figures, which was a great movie, but it kind of has a lighter feel, so you don't expect it to be like 100% factual. But they were like, oh no, the colored bathroom wasn't really that far. I mean, it was separate from the white bathroom, but you didn't have to run all the way across NASA. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it is a
Yeah. It's
movie, guys. You have to have some
dramatic.
dramatic beats. Say that again?
It's called dramatic effect.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So you gotta have some dramatic beats. Okay, maybe Kevin Costner's real life version of him didn't bust the white sign over the bathroom,
Yeah.
but yeah, we get the idea. That at some point, sometime in these women's life, the director said, "Hey, we need these women to be able to use the bathroom that's closer to the fucking space shuttle, so we can get to the moon." Dramatic effect. And then you get movies like Braveheart, which apparently
Yeah.
are just
It's a
complete
complete work of
fabrications.
it's a complete work of fiction, but it's still a great movie. Like I teach a unit on this. I haven't taught it in a long time, but I'm going to soon, about history versus fiction in film. And two movies I use because Brazilians have all seen them, so that makes it easier, is Braveheart and Titanic, and they're
Oh yeah.
complete works of fiction. They both won the Oscar for Best Picture, and what I put forward to my students is like, does this make these bad movies that
Mm-hmm.
they're not tell, and how much responsibility do we have to tell the truth? And generally speaking, what I try, and I mean, I let the students come to their own conclusions, of course, but what I try and advocate is that movies don't actually have a responsibility to tell the truth. It is the responsibility of the audience to distill the truth. Like, that's on
Mm-hmm.
you. It's not on the movie.
Exactly. It's not on anybody, to be honest. I mean, I can tell you whatever bullshit I want. You are the one that needs to figure out whether I'm telling you something factual or not. Research that shit, and don't get butthurt about it. So yeah, but in either case, I think writers and directors are being a bit more careful with that, and especially when it comes to history, of blacks, women, Asians, whatever, kind of these minorities. Well, women aren't a minority, but you get what I'm saying. Where you just want to make sure that they're getting their stories right, because they're not the stories that are being told every day. So I appreciate that a lot. Like One Night in Miami is probably another example of that, where a lot of it is fabricated, obviously, because nobody was in that room other than
Yeah,
those four men.
and they're all
But
dead.
yeah, they're all, well, Jim
Actually,
Brown's still
Jim
around.
Brown is
Yeah.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's actually a nice thing on YouTube where he visits that motel. It's like a little 10-minute little mini interview doc. Um, but still, you can tell that a lot of care was taken to fill in those blanks based on what these men were like. So
And I think we're
it
supposed to know that that's fiction. Like,
well, a lot of people
it,
don't, dude. That's the scary part. A lot of people don't.
okay.
Yeah, they just don't. Just go on fucking YouTube, go on the internet, and people are really fucking stupid. Except for everybody on Talking Films, they're like we're the greatest group out there. But you'd be surprised how many idiots there are.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Who really, really, really think like yeah, I don't even want to get into something that I saw today, but just more
Yeah,
proof
no,
that there's a lot of idiots
but
out there who just really, really, really believe anything that you tell them. So when they see, like they'll watch Disney's Pocahontas, like it's to that level, and just like that's the story of Pocahontas, like that's it.
right.
They won't go beyond that and realized she never even met John Smith, or if she did, it was like for a brief time. Like like none of that happened, and there were definitely not any singing animals either. Uh,
Oh no,
or like
no,
this.
no, no! You're full of shit, man. There were singing animals. Come on.
Well, yeah, it was a long time ago, so you may be right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could
They've
have
lost
those
their
facts
ability.
wrong.
They
I
just
could.
don't do it in front of us anymore. But
I get
animals
you.
can sing. Yeah.
I got you. So, but there's people that will believe that that's it. And I'll tell you, I mean, I'll talk about me. When I was a little kid, I also believed that, because I didn't know any better. So if I watch Braveheart or Pocahontas or whatever little cartoon or movie that was supposed to be about the American history or Europe, of course, you believe that, well, look how much work they put into this. Of course, that's how it really happened. And then you grow up and then you read a book,
Yeah.
but doesn't always happen that way. Oh, boy. But I give this one thumbs up. And again, check out the documentary Pete too. You might really like it. Called Vanguards of the Revolution, because then it gives you like the whole picture. Like this movie was just focused on Fred, and that one just kind of gives you a whole scope of all the different splinter groups and the divide among the Black Panthers, and it's kind of tragic part of it all too, especially with Fred.
Yeah,
Um,
he got shot in his sleep, man. That's a fucking nasty way to go.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
actually, there are worse ways to go. I mean, at least he was sleeping, but like, fuck, talk about a revolutionary going out in like the most utterly passive way possible.
I know. Um, so sad story, but I like that documentary kind of because I didn't know. For me, the same way that you felt about watching his movie, and there's a bit of a history. For me, it was that documentary that came out in whenever it was, 2015 or so. Because it was just a kind of a peripheral group. I think it was like that dangerous group that uh, I didn't know that much about. Didn't know if they were good, if they were bad. Yeah, 2015. It's an hour and 55-minute long documentary. Um, but I never really cared to really learn about. And then this documentary that's got interviews with actual Black Panthers who were there. Eyewitnesses to the events, to what was going on, who told their story. And some of it you agree with, some of it you don't. But at the very least, you get a nice chunk of American history because Black history is American history too. Um, and that's it. And that's what we watched since
That
we've been
is what we
gone.
watched. Yes.
And pretty much all thumbs up stuff here. We try to keep it mostly thumbs up stuff.
Yeah.
WandaVision, Justice League, Apocalypse War. If you didn't like the Snyder Cut, watch this. This is definitely it's pretty insane. Um, Boss Level, which I do want to see, and Judas and the Black Messiah is one of the best films of the year. We've been winning a bunch of awards. Um, so that's it, y'all. I hope to see you in 2 weeks, or if you're around next week, watch the Black or listen to the Black Expat Journal. The Black Expat Journal.
The
Yeah,
Black Expat Journal. I'm
Pete
I'm so black now.
with Pete in blackface.
Yeah, yeah. I will do my best.
The Brazil Expat Journal, and the X Files podcast every Thursday, 10 p.m. And we're real 10 p.m. sharp with that, guys. Actually, we're 10 p.m. sharp with the Brazil Expat Journal and 10 p.m. sharp with the X Files one. It's just this one. It's like whenever we get on. I was trying to get on earlier today, but it was a little bit rough. Little harder than I thought to do it. But thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And see y'all later. Black power.
Yes,
Canadian power.
yes, yes. Brazilian power.
Brazilian power.